Yeah, there you are. Thank you. You see, General, that note was taken at the 6 o'clock meeting. We've gone through this before with Mr. Chaskasen. You remember that?
Yes, I remember, Chairperson.
Yes. Now, that particular note reads like this: cluster 170 cells, individual detention facilities spread over 5 stations, 6 truck and 1 clerk stop truck, confirmed, plus potentially more to join. So it means by the 6 o'clock meeting, the issue of the detention facilities and the 5 stations and so on had already been confirmed. So for you to be coming down in the middle of this major tragedy or massacre or whichever one you call, to go to rather prioritize something that had been sorted out already is quite strange for a commander, a person who is the overall commander, correct?
At what stage precisely in the afternoon did you leave for the Marikana police station? What had already happened by the time you left for the Marikana police station?
Chairperson, I don't recall, except if I can check on my G12, but that's what I say to the question. It is not so much a detention facility, because at that stage, the processing, what we call the processing place, was not yet confirmed. We also, that's why I'm saying it's not only a detention facility, but the processing place. Maybe I'll just have to check at my G12.
No, I understand. You deal with this in paragraph 53 of G12, but what I was concerned with what had already happened. See, it was suggested to you that just after the tragedy you went off now to the police station. Now, but before you went to the police station, what had you done, if anything?
Chairperson, I did ask the questions, the following questions, which were confirmed by the JOCOM about the medical people are being called. Then I was told yes, they are being called. Secondly, was the IPT informed? I was told it was informed. I asked Brigadier Van Sale, and then about the processing of the scene. Then he said, generally, yes, there is somebody coming from National who's going to process the scenes. There were already some of the activities which were already being confirmed before I can also attend these other matters, which, of course, at that stage, maybe I thought that it was enough just to say at that stage, there was nothing really indeed that I could do that could have changed the situation.
Yeah. General, I know there were all these small things that needed to be done relatively, but I'm saying those things compared to a situation where you are in charge of probably the biggest operation in your life. You've just been told that it's gone disastrous for whatever reason, without ascribing fault to anybody. You've just been told that it's gone major disastrous. Many people have died. Hundreds are probably injured. And, you know, you think you must prioritize small little things about processing and, you know, it's that context that I'm raising this. I'm not saying those other things. I'm just saying in relation to a catastrophic event that has just occurred, shouldn't you, or rather, I'm going to suggest at the end that you should have prioritized going to the scene and dealing with your top management and being more hands-on in the face of this unexpected catastrophe.
Chairperson, I know that you said I must be very short. I just want to try to be very short.
So I did say, unless it's necessary for you
yes.
to expand, you can do so. I don't want to put a halter on you and prevent you from saying anything at all that's meaningful. I just want to say you don't have to repeat your previous testimony at great length. But if it's relevant for you to answer the question, to say something you said before, you can do so.
Chairperson, is my testimony before this commission that whenever I felt that my experience and my hands-on management abilities were required, I did demonstrate that. And very clearly, and I did say that why I changed the cap, and I did say the interception at the copy, and all these other activities of bringing together the unions, the management talking together, that it's what I did. But on the 16th, at the stage where I came back, really there was nothing that I could do maybe to save the lives of the people at that time. But what was more important is that all issues that I could have been concerned with, and which I do understand what Advocate Mpofu said, they were already being attended, taking together an average experience of the officers that were there and also of a general that was there. I did believe that it was enough, Chairperson, at that time.
Yes. Okay. I hear that. I'm nevertheless going to argue that this is a sign of the fact that you were either isolated or had disengaged because you were disgruntled about that isolation. It's the same point. Is it correct that when you were briefing the president or the other senior people, your role was limited to explaining what had happened on the 13th, correct?
Correct, Chairperson. Not limited, but it was where I was personally involved.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. In other words, with everything that happened subsequently to that, you were not personally involved. That's exactly my theory.
Chairperson, not that I was told by somebody, don't get involved. But what I said is that, I'm sorry, Chairperson, is to explain what happened on Monday.
Yes. Well, again, I'm going to argue at the end that alone is a sign of the fact that after the 13th, you are not longer playing the same role in real life, although you left there as a figurehead, as it were. I'm sure you disagree with that.
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay. Now, it is also true that the by the way, when you did split those roles, you were explaining the 13th and Colonel Scott was explaining the 16th, as it were. Did you hear Colonel Scott telling the president that the police had acted in self-defense?
I did say that Colonel Scott briefed the president according to what I was informed.
Okay, please answer the question.
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you. All right. Now, the other crucial role which seems to have been played in this whole saga is the role of the police intelligence or rather information gathered by police intelligence, correct? That also played a pivotal role in informing the decision to go to stage 3.
I don't understand the question, whether did I play it or maybe...
No.
What Advocate Mpofu wants to know is, do you agree that a pivotal role in these events was played by the criminal intelligence people who were gathering information from various sources? What's your comment on that? That's his proposition, as I understand it.
That's correct, Chairperson.
That I was playing that role.
Not you. We know that the criminal investigation people were gathering information. Bring it to Engelbrecht, Colonel Isaacs, and the people who were working under them. We know that, don't we? And I understand they had informers out in the field, and they had handlers and so forth. That's correct, isn't it?
Correct.
And they were getting information which they were then processing, and they were making available they're making that information available to the JOCOM. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Now that's the basis upon which Mr. Mpofu is suggesting to you that the information that you got in the JOCOM from the criminal intelligence people, was pivotal in the decisions that were made. Is that a correct summary?
That's correct, Chairperson. In particular, the decision to move to stage 3.
Now, what do you say about that? The last point he makes is very important. He says, particularly in relation to the decision to move to stage 3, the information that had been obtained via the criminal intelligence section was very important and pivotal, in fact. Now, do you agree with that proposition or don't you?
I do agree with it, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. And as overall commander, did it ever occur to you that the integrity of this information might not be good? And by that, let me explain what I mean. By that, and I'm not blaming you, just by the nature of this kind of thing, it would probably somebody on the ground, some informer who cannot be identified. I think SMSs, from what we gather from Brigadier Engelbrecht, will SMS somebody called a handler, and then that handler will then relay that message to Brigadier Engelbrecht. So if that person, the source, whom you and I will never know who it is, might have a whole lot of other motives, including being paid money for giving information. I'm only saying it in that spirit, that sometimes the integrity of the information, because it comes from faceless people, could not be that good. Did that ever concern you? Yes or no?
It didn't concern me, Chairperson, because I know that the information is normally confirmed before it's brought to us.
So, and for example, we know, for example, that one of the pieces of information that you were given in the morning was that the strikers would resist or refuse to leave the copy, and that didn't materialize. So, as far as that is concerned,
why do you say that it didn't materialize?
Well, we went through.
What facts is that allegation?
Yes. Okay. We went through this last week. You remember I took you to I don't know which slides. That you and I agreed that at least the copy was empty and abandoned or deserted by some time before even the tragedy happened. You remember that? Otherwise, I'll take you back to those slides.
I remember the slides,
yes,
but not that all people left the copy.
Sorry, so you remember the slides as having some people still left in the copy. I'm talking about the big copy now.
I'm talking about the group that actually, what is it? Let's say those
attacked
that
the police.
Went to the police.
Yeah,
yes,
fine. That was near
charged to the police.
Yes, that was near the crawl. I'm talking about the copy now. I'm saying, do you accept that the people, for them to be near the crawl, by definition, it means they had left the copy. Isn't that true?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you.
But what actually crime intelligence, in my understanding, was saying, was talking about those that will charge to the police.
No. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, well, I can't remember now what the exhibit number is, but I thought that that piece of paper from so-called crime intelligence was just said that the people would refuse to leave the copy. But I'll take your word for now. In any event, is it? Can I just don't want to be unfair to you. Is it fair to say that your evidence was intended to give the commission the impression that your first real involvement in this matter was on the 13th, correct?
No, Chairperson. I think what is more important is that on the 13th I played dual role. That's why then the 13th is much emphasized. But the fact that I was not on the scenes on the 16th, that's why I don't speak much on what happened on the ground.
No, thank you, General. I think my question was vague, yeah, so it's my fault. I'm not talking about any period subsequent to the 13th. I'm actually talking about before. I'm saying, would it be fair to say that your evidence was meant to create the impression to the Commission that prior to the 13th, you were not really involved. You were on leave and so on. Your real involvement commences on the 13th. Would that be a fair summary, or would that be, am I being unfair to you?
Or being unfair that I was on leave. I just wanted clarity.
No, okay, sorry. I'm saying, okay, has your, that...
Can I perhaps help? According to Exhibit G12, when you were on leave on Saturday, the 11th of August, you received an SMS from Brigadier Engelbrecht, the provincial head of the Crime Intelligence Northwest Province, regarding a march by employees of Career Mine to the hostel sports ground. And they were demanding a salary increase, and then he also dealt with the events following the march. You forwarded the SMS to Major General Naidu, who was the acting provincial commissioner at the time. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
He then came back to you and informed you that Brigadier Collins had already been informed and that POP members were attending to the situation. So that's right?
Correct, Chairperson.
And then you then went back to Brigadier Engelbrecht and said that Major General Naidu had attended to the situation. That's all you did on the Saturday, the 11th. That's right?
Yes, Chairperson.
According to your statement, you didn't do anything on Sunday the 12th. You were
Correct,
still on leave.
Chairperson.
And then what happened on Monday the 13th, you, at about 8:30, you attended the interim Joint Operations Centre, that was the JOC, established at Lonman. That was the interim JOC. And you got there with Lieutenant General Mbombo, the provincial commissioner, who'd come back, obviously, from her leave, and Major General Naidu, who'd been acting in her place until then. Is that right?
Yes,
So
Chairperson.
what Mr. Mpofu was putting to you is, apart from dealing with the SMS that you got from Brigadier Engelbrecht, which you passed on to the appropriate quarters, and then when you got feedback, you reported back to Brigadier Engelbrecht. Apart from that, you weren't involved at all in what was happening at Marikana until the Monday morning. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Is that your point, Mr.
That's correct, Chairperson. And I go further and I say that which you've now confirmed with the Chairperson was calculated to deliberately underplay the role that you played before the 13th, and it is not a reflection of the truth.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
How can you answer a question like that? Mustn't you put to him the role he played before then to indicate why you say that this evidence he gave was misleading and was deliberately designed to underplay what he'd actually done? I think before you can expect an answer, you must give him the details so he can reply.
Then I'll lose the trust of the cross-examination. I want to commit him first. If he says no, what is said to you is the only thing he did, then I'm going to put it to him. What's the point of, if I put all the things to him? Yeah.
Perhaps you want to put it differently. what you've told us you did on the Saturday, was that all you did on the Saturday in relation to Marikana?
Correct, Chairperson.
And did you do anything on the Sunday relating to Marikana?
No, Chairperson, except only when I'm contacted or maybe, and then I give the information, but nothing physically I did at Marikana.
And before the Saturday, the Friday the 10th, did you do anything? Were you involved in any way in what was going on in Marikana? You were on leave, I think.
Yes, I was on leave, Chairperson.
When did your leave end? When did you come back from leave?
Actually, I was called from leave when I reported on Monday.
That's been your evidence throughout.
Yes.
Now, what Mr. Mpofu is suggesting to you, that there was something else that you did that's very relevant, that you, in relation to Marikana, which you kept away from us. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Now, as far as you're aware, is there any substance in that allegation?
No, I'm not aware except all this that...
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Okay, now, according to Brigadier Engelbrecht, your interactions with him were not confined to the SMS. He actually had several telephonic conversations with you on top of the SMS. Is he lying, or are you making a mistake?
Mr. Mpofu. He does say in the 12 that after he got the SMS from Brigadier Engelbrecht, and after he did forward it to Major General Naidu, and then got feedback from Major General Naidu, he then reported back to Brigadier Engelbrecht that Major General Naidu had attended the situation. So, in other words, his involvement was not just limited to the SMS. He does say that there was a further communication or discussion between him and Brigadier Engelbrecht. He doesn't tell us what the form of that report, what form that report took. So that's something that I think should be investigated further.
Fair enough.
Before you put the proposition as starkly as you did to him.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes. I want to suggest to you that apart from the SMS and your report back to Brigadier Engelbrecht that you had passed it on, you actually had more detailed discussions with Brigadier Engelbrecht before the 13th about the situation in Marikana. Do you dispute that?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think with due respect, I mean, the necessary, information or version should be put to the witness to enable him to deal with it. I mean, to just say that he had more interaction or telephone conversation with Brigadier Engelbrecht without telling him that's unfair.
Well, he's committed himself, has he not, to what the answers he gave to me. So it's put to him that there's more happened than he's told us. Sorry?
What is the more, Mr. Chairman? That's the problem I've got.
Well, isn't he entitled to be? I mean, if you ask someone, when you went to the shop and you took one tin of stuff from the shelf, and he says yes, and he says, did you take any more? And he says no, and I put it to you, you took more. Are you obliged to say to him what precisely he took? If he didn't take anything more, he didn't take anything more. So same thing would apply. So I think the question is admissible, but you and I will keep an eye on it just to make sure that Mr. Mpofu doesn't go further than he should.
Yeah, thank you.
But the basis for the question is in the statement of another of your witnesses, Mr. Matibeli. The basis for these questions appear from the statement of another of the SABC witnesses. And I think that's what Mr. Mpofu is exploring.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So just to assist you, General, I'll take you to the statement J167, just so that we play open cards here. J167, which is the statement of Brigadier Engelbrecht. Yeah, it's there. If you go to paragraph, let's start with paragraph 2. You see that there's a reference to the SMS, so we can eliminate that. The paragraph 3 is where I have an interest.
Paragraph 4 has also got...
And 4, yes. We're going to get there. Let's start to...
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
If the witness could be pointed where precisely in paragraph 2 is it indicated that that information was given over to the witness?
No. I'm sorry. If I gave that impression, then it's my mistake. I was just saying there's a reference to the SMS. That I'm not quarreling with him as far as the SMS is concerned. I'm not saying that it says at this stage that it was relayed to him. So please, apologies for that. Now, paragraph 3, General, says, remember, he now had information that there were going to be attacks that night against supporters of NUM and so on. He says, I then telephoned Major General Mbembe and discussed the information that I had received with him.
I'm sorry, I was...
Sorry, Chairperson.
I just want to be sure of something. Have you got the statement in front of you?
Correct, Chairperson.
And are you following the passage that is being read to you by Mr. Mpofu?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. The crucial part is the one I've just read. I then telephoned Major General Mbembe and discussed the information that I had received with him. I did this because it was my duty to report this information to General Mbembe and because I wanted to see that visible policing was deployed in the area. I discussed the information that I had received with Major General Mbembe in relation to the gathering that had taken place the previous day. I also forwarded the SMS. So that's why I was saying let's eliminate the SMS because you and I agree about that. It's the extra discussion which I suggest is much more than what you had given to the Commission. Do you have an answer to that?
Chairperson, my answer still remains according to my statement. There was no time where, or there was no stage where I said to Brigadier Engelbrecht, I'm not happy. How I could have done that assessment?
No. But it's not as simple as that, Major General. If you look at the last sentence of paragraph 3, which is the top of page 2 of the statement, he says, after he says he's forwarded the SMS to you, he says, you told him, Major General Mpembe told me, that he was going to deploy operational people from SABC at Marikana and that he would deal with the issue. That's the point that Mr. Mpofu is putting to you. And this conversation took place, according to paragraph 2, on the 11th. Now, the 11th, you remember, was the Saturday. Now, you did say that you got an SMS on the Saturday. And you did say that once you'd forwarded it to Major General Naidu and got feedback, you then reported to Brigadier Engelbrecht that Major General Naidu had attended the situation. But you did not say that you deployed operational people from SAPS at Marikana, if you in fact did that, or alternatively, that you said you were going to do that and you didn't do it. So that's really what Mr. Mpofu is about. So perhaps Mr. Mpofu could put his question to you again, and then we can get a crisp answer to it.
Yes. Maybe to do that, I'll try and put a crisp question, which is that what is suggested in paragraph 3, I'm going to argue, is much more than what you have led the Commission to believe up to now were your activities on the 11th. Is that fair, or do you have an answer to that, or am I being unfair to you?
Unfair, Chairperson.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Did you, in
Chairperson.
fact, deploy operational people from SABC at Marikana on the Saturday?
No, Chairperson.
Thank you. So then we go back to where we started. So it's either you are correct or Major General, rather Brigadier Engelbrecht is mistaken or making it up. We don't know which, but is wrong. Correct?
I don't want to say is, but myself, I was on leave. I did not go to Marikana on Saturday, but I was constantly, whatever he reported to me, I reported to General Naidu and also to Brigadier Khalid. I have never at any stage been at Marikana.
He doesn't say you did. What he says is that you told him that you were going to deploy operational people from SABC at Marikana that you would deal with the issue. You didn't say, I will go there personally and I will deal with the issue personally on the spot. But what he says you said to him was that you would deploy operational people from SABC at Marikana, and you said that to him on the Saturday. Now, did you say that to him? You've told us you didn't deploy people on the Saturday, but did you tell him on the Saturday that you would deploy operational people?
No, Chairperson. What I said to him is that, okay.
What did you say? What did you say?
No, Chairperson, you are correct, because I just want to repeat what I said to my statement, to say that I told the people who are on duty, yes, okay, what he has reported to me.
When you told this to the people on duty, did you perhaps say to them that more police need to be deployed in Marikana? Did you perhaps do that?
I did, because even those SMSs, they were also speaking the same thing that he told me.
Since you were on leave, would you have been in a position to deploy subs at Marikana when there were people who were on duty and General Lines were being acting provincial commissioner?
No, Chairperson.
Okay. Now, let me just understand that last answer. Are you saying that if you're on leave, as given your seniority and your rank and everything, if you had picked up the phone, given your seniority, and said, listen, this unit and that unit, what do you call it? Visible policing and all those people must go there. Would there have been anything wrong with that? Or two, would someone have said, well, you are on leave, we're not going to listen to you?
Chairperson, I will ask permission to explain this. When one goes on leave, you actually give somebody your position and your authority, in the sense that somebody acts in your position. So at that time, information that you get, you only convey to the one that is on duty. Because at that time, you can't give an instruction from leave. You don't know what is happening actually on the ground. So that's why I was communicating any information that was coming to me back to those that are on duty.
Yes. Okay, that's fair. Now, if that is true, then it means the part that the chairperson read to you, the word he there, which obviously refers to you, that then it means Brigadier Engelbrecht was not telling the truth. Because he says Major General Bembe told me that he was going to deploy operational people from SABC at Marikana and that he would deal with the issue.
I did not go there and I did not deal with it personally, Chairperson.
Yes, so Engelbrecht is wrong. Correct?
According to my answer, yes, Chairperson. According to my answer, he is not correct.
Okay. Now, apart from that discussion which involved the SMS, prior to the 13th, did you have another telephonic discussion with Brigadier Engelbrecht relating to the events in Marikana?
Chairperson, I can't really state numerically the numbers. There were times where Brigadier Engelbrecht would phone me, but I can't quite say it's about 10 or 6 or what.
No, I'm only interested in one. I'm saying apart from the time that we've just discussed, did you again have any other telephonic conversation? In other words, apart from this thing about the SMS and deployments, did you have any other telephonic discussion about the situation in Marikana with Brigadier Engelbrecht before the 13th?
Chairperson, I don't understand the question. I already said before the 13th was the 11th. There might also have been, because every time Brigadier Engelbrecht, when he gets any SMS from his members, he would SMS he will SMS it to me. Then I will also relate to the other people, or maybe even myself phoning Brigadier Khalid or General Naidu. That could have happened.
General, according to your own memory, did you have another discussion with Brigadier Engelbrecht regarding the events in Marikana, apart from the one that we have discussed, which occurred before the 13th?
Chairperson, I said yes with regard to the SMSs and the telephone communication that happened on the 11th. But what I'm saying is, we might have also communicated on the 12th. I don't recall that.
You don't recall?
But it's possible that I might have communicated with him on the 12th, because immediately when he got the SMSs from the members, he was normally sending them to me.
Yes, well, if the telephone conversation included something as serious as 2 security guards having been killed, would you remember that, or would your failure of memory suggest that it didn't happen?
Chairperson, were quite some people that phoned me when those incidences happened. It's not only Brigadier Engelbrecht. I could say also Brigadier Khalid, I did communicate with him. It's not only that I was only communicating with Brigadier Engelbrecht. And I don't deny that he might have communicated with me. But by that time, he was aware that I'm on leave.
Yes. I'm saying that once again because apart from what happened on the 11th, on the 12th, if you go to paragraph 4 of the statement, I'm reading from the 3rd sentence. It says the report...
No. I think we must go further down.
Yes, sir.
Take paragraph 4 to the top of the screen. Stop there. Then you see it says, afternoon of 12th August, I received another report, this is Engelbrecht talking, by way of an SMS from the same handler. He says it's the content of it in paragraph 6 of Exhibit T5. It says the protesters wanted to stop employees going to the career mine on the night shift as well as the next day. He says he telephoned you again and conveyed this report to you, and he raised his concern with you concerning the killing of the 2 security guards at Wondercorp, which of course had happened on that day. He says his concern being why people had been killed when he'd asked the previous day for visible policing to be deployed. And this is what he says, was your reply. He said Major General Mpembe replied that he was attending to the issue and that visible police had not been employed as he would have wanted them to be deployed. He then says that he forwarded the SMS to you again. Now, so what he says, which is really what Mr. Mpofu was asking you about, is that he contacted you, asked why the people who were going to be, the visible police who were going to be deployed hadn't been. We asked, and how it happened that these people had been killed. And he said that, then he sets out your reply. Now, that's really what Mr. Mpofu wants to know about. Is that right, Mr. Mpofu?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Now, can you remember that conversation?
Chairperson, I don't remember the conversation where he raised his concern with me, and I say no, I'm not happy with the people that they have been deployed. When in the first place, I did tell him that I was on leave.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, I didn't catch that, but maybe it does raise the issue that I was going to ask you about. Presumably you indicated on the 11th already to Brigadier Engelbrecht that, listen here, I'm on leave. Correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
So are you then suggesting that the other conversation and all these things you're supposed to do could not have happened because you already knew that you're on leave?
No, Chairperson. What I'm saying is that he will send me the SMS, and the SMS, I will do it as I did with the one on the 13th. And maybe I can even check on my records of the cell phone. You will find that maybe...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think you made a mistake. So I did what I would have done on the 13th. I think you meant the 11th. On the 11th, you forwarded the SMS to Naidu so that he could do the necessary. You're now talking about the 12th and about an SMS which Brigadier Engelbrecht says he sent you. Are you saying you would have dealt with that SMS on the 12th, Sunday, the same way that you dealt with the SMS of the Saturday, the 11th. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, Chairperson, because I couldn't have gone to Marikana, because if I have gone to Marikana, I could have told him. But the way in which he put it here, he said even I was not satisfied with the deployment, as if I was there and I could have done the assessment, and that is not true.
Okay, well, you've answered my next question.
Sorry, Ms. Can I just ask another question before you move on? You say you were on leave, and you said when you go on leave, you hand your office over, as it were, your functions, responsibilities over to the person who is acting in your place. Is that right?
Correct, Chairperson.
Who was acting in your place on Sunday, the 12th, when you were still on leave?
Chairperson, I would just have to check whom did I recommend, because sometimes there was a time where you would recommend a provincial head who is a brigadier. But sometimes when you discuss it with the provincial commissioner, she will say, no, if another general is available. Sometimes it depends whether it could be General Naidu or General Tsumani. But it does happen to say, no, don't appoint this brigadier, but tell your provincial heads they will report to so and so.
If you'd appointed a brigadier, would it have been Brigadier Khalid?
It could have been Brigadier Khalid, or it could have been Brigadier Mbongo, because I do have 3 brigadiers.
I see.
Yes, Chairperson.
Would it be one of your 3 brigadiers?
Would one of my 3 brigadiers, or General Naidu, or General Tsumani? One of the because
the fact that you referred this SMS on the Saturday to to Major General Naidu, is that an indication that he may have been the person acting in your place at that time? Or would that not be a justifiable inference?
He might be the acting provincial commissioner to know what is happening in the province, and maybe at that time he knows whom to assign. But it would happen again, Chairperson, that in my capacity while I'm still on leave, if it's concerning crowd management, I do normally, if the information comes to me, phone Brigadier Khalid to say, are you aware about this crowd management problem, and are you attending to it? So maybe my cell phone can also show whether I did communicate to him or not.
Thank you. Anyway, all in all, the final word is that in respect of paragraph 4, Brigadier Engelbrecht is again wrong, correct?
Chairperson, I'm referring to certain words where he assumes that I personally took the matter.
Yes, to that extent he's wrong, right?
Yes, but with the communication, he might not be wrong. I might have communicated with him.
No, let's leave the places where he's correct. There are places where he is wrong.
Yes.
Personally, sorry, Chairperson.
I think you've got on record the points where this witness says Brigadier Engelbrecht was wrong. Obviously, you'll take them up with Brigadier Engelbrecht in due course.
No, of course, Chairperson.
But I would have thought, if I may say so, you've got enough on record now to take the matter further with Brigadier Engelbrecht. I don't want to stop you if there's some
fair enough,
valuable point you want to make, but I would have thought,
yes.
Say so, you've got enough on record for your purposes.
Thank you, thank you, Chairperson. Now, in the same vein, let me take a related but separate topic. You were aware that the strikers did not harbor any animosity towards the police, and they explained to you that they were in possession of these weapons in order to protect themselves against the NUM, correct?
That's what they said to me, Chairperson.
Yes. You're also aware that, according to Mr. Kasim, I think, it was only on the 11th, after the alleged attack by the NUM, that Mr. Kasim's store was emptied of about 30 pangas, which were bought in some rush, correct?
Chairperson, if maybe we can check the statement just to confirm that, because I know that there is a statement of Mr. Kasim that was submitted to the Commission. Yeah,
no, you can take it from me that he says that sometime around 9 or just after 9 on the 11th. So what it describes in that short statement, it says it happened on the 11th at about 9. You can accept that. What I'm saying is that in terms of your own information, were you aware, or have you just become aware of that?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the witness has asked to be shown the statement. I think it's only fair.
That's a good point, Mr. Mpofu.
Okay, fair enough. I was trying to save time because it's not germane to what I'm going to ask you. But it's fine. It's Triple H 7.1, I'm told. Thanks. And 7.3 as well, Chairperson.
He says he's got a hardware shop. And he says on the 11th of August at 9 o'clock, I was on duty in my shop. Since the time at 7 o'clock when I opened, I had a rush of African males buying pangas from me. So it might well have been from, since the time at, is it 9 or 7? Could be 9. I was on duty at 9. Since the time at 9 when I opened, I had a rush of African males buying pangas from me. And he says he had about 30, and it was all sold out in no time, the stock. So that's the passage which is being put to you.
That's correct, Chairperson. Yeah, that's the passage I was paraphrasing from Mr. Kasim. You are aware of that?
Correct, Chairperson. I was aware after the 16th about that information.
Fair enough, yeah. The point really that I was going to is that sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. The point I was coming to is that with all these evidence, pieces of evidence, in particular, what you yourself personally had been told by the strikers, there was no reason to believe that they harbored any animosity towards the police, and they communicated this not just to you, but to McIntosh, to all the people who were talking to them, correct?
I already said that the only problem that I had with the strikers is that why they refused to give me dangerous weapons. That's the only point that really I had a serious problem with the strikers about.
Yes. General, I accept that. Let me tell you where I'm going with this. You had no reason prior to the so-called attack that you say you witnessed, or which was reported to you, to believe that the strikers would want to attack the police. Did you?
The only problem, and I'm still repeating my answer, is that their refusal to give me the dangerous weapon. Because that, to me, it could mean something else. Because why they could refuse to give me dangerous weapons, and yet they are talking about an attack which I am present at that time, I could defend them.
Yes.
But yet they don't trust the police, and they continue with dangerous weapons.
Yeah. Yes, General, please just bear with me here. I accept what you're saying. As a senior police official, if I was in your shoes, I would also find it objectionable that somebody is defying me as a senior police official. That's not what I'm about. I'm saying there's a difference to if I intend to attack Mr. Chaskalson, and you ask me, and I have no such intentions, and you ask me to hand over the weapon with which I'm intending to attack Mr. Chaskalson, you'll have a reason to complain because you are a policeman and I'm defying you. But I'm saying that's a different thing to believing that because I'm refusing to give you the weapon with which I'm going to attack Mr. Chaskalson, it means I'm going to attack you. Those are two different scenarios. Do you understand the difference?
Correct, Chairperson, I do understand.
Now, I'm saying then that in all this situation, what was communicated clearly to you, and when I say you again, I mean the police, was that these people were refusing and hoarding and wanting to keep on to their weapons for the purposes of defending themselves against the NUM, not for the purposes of attacking the police, correct?
No, Chairperson.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yes.
He wants to finish his answer.
Chairperson, what I'm saying is, and I need to be understood in this context, that for them to refuse to hand over the dangerous weapons to me, it showed a wider intentions of what they will continue wanting to do, or even to injure any person. Because to me, I didn't know, even now, I don't know the reason why they refuse to hand the dangerous weapon, knowing very well that they are committing an offense. And here is a police official who doesn't say, I'm arresting you, who requires them to hand over dangerous weapons. What could have been the reason for them to refuse to give that police officials those dangerous weapons?
Yes. No, they gave you the reason, General, and I'm not condoning the fact that they did not listen to you. It's wrong, okay? All I'm saying to you is that the mere fact that they said to you, we're not going to give you these weapons because we're going to defend ourselves against the NUM, which is wrong. They shouldn't do that. Does not suggest that they were hoarding those weapons for the sake of attacking the police. Do you accept that?
No, Chairperson. It could have attacked the police or anybody else, and that's my meaning. For the fact that NUM was not there, and the police were there to protect them.
Now,
I think you've made the
yes,
point. You've got enough on record to argue the point you want to argue.
Yeah.
It's a good point. We'll decide later, but I think you've got enough on record to argue.
yes, Chairperson. I won't
witnesses-
offer my views at this stage whether it's a good point.
No, obviously you will contend it's a good point later.
So
The witness has indicated his attitude. You suggesting to him the refusal to hand over the weapons because they wanted to use them against NUM either aggressively or defensively isn't a sign that they were an indication that they were aggressive towards the police.
Yes.
And he said he doesn't accept that proposition, and he's given his reasons.
Yes.
I
can't take it further.
The point you've made.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Chairperson. Except for just this one part. According to Brigadier Engelbrecht, actually, he himself...
There's an objection, I think, from one of your colleagues.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Matibedi.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Tibedi, it's
Potter.
Mr. Ntsongota for NUM.
from NUM.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There is a suggestion emanating from Mr. Mpofu to the effect that the weapons, as per the witness statement of Mr. Kassim, were purchased after the alleged attack, just to borrow from his phrasing, by NUM on the strikers. There's no basis for such a suggestion, Chair.
There is, because if you look at Exhibit L, you'll see it said in Exhibit L that the attack on the NUM office took place at 8:30. It's slide 19. Now, whether that time is correct or not, we obviously have to consider. But Mr. Mpofu is entitled to say that according to some evidential material, at least before this commission, that march on the NUM office took place at 8:30. And therefore, he will say, And he does say that if weapons were purchased after 9 o'clock, that's an indication that it was after that incident. There are all sorts of inferences that can be drawn from the purchase of the weapons, but we're not going into those now. All I'm saying to you is his assertion that the indications on the evidential material before us that those weapons were purchased after the incident is not something that's snatched out of the air and not supported by material before us.
No, sorry, Chair, the matter is not as simple and as straightforward, Chair, with respect, because I'm looking at statement of Mr. Albert Kekeleza, whom we know now is deceased, and may his soul rest in peace. His evidence
No, Mr. Kekeleza is not deceased.
Mr. Kekeleza passed away in January, I think it was, and we made a formal announcement in the commission.
Yes, I think that's correct, Mr.
And-
Popo.
Yes, that's correct.
But
Mr. Stelelet passed away afterwards, yes.
whether he's deceased or not is neither here nor there.
Yes.
There is a statement, but
I withdraw,
he
Chairperson.
testified.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes, he testified, and his evidence is to the effect, if I can just find the paragraph and just read. His evidence was to the effect that at around just before 9, whilst they were in the office, they received a call from a friend of his who was amongst the group that had converged just outside the Vonderkop Stadium to alert them that in fact the group had just decided to march towards the NUM's office, and that was just before 9, so he says. So it couldn't have been at 8:30, at least on the version that was not
Even if it was
challenged.
just before 9, it's not suggested they all hastened off to the arms shop to purchase their pangas before they went on to the NUM office. I mean, there are other inferences. One inference is that they weren't all armed, and after the incident at the NUM office, those who weren't armed thought it might be sensible to arm themselves and went off and bought, because there were only 30 that were purchased. And there were 3,000 people, you remember, so the evidence was, who marched on something like that, 2,000 to 3,000. So there are all sorts of inferences.
I don't think much turns on it. Safe merely to say that there are various inferences that can be
I'm aware of that,
That's all I
acutely
wanted.
aware of that.
Thank you.
But that's not a basis of objection. Your objection was that Mr. Mpofu was making an assertion to the witness. It wasn't borne out by any evidential material before us, and that's not right. So that's why I overrule your objection. But the point about the possible inferences and various inferences, they're all there. But they're not a reason for disallowing Mr. Mpofu's question. That's all. So Mr. Mpofu will carry on for the moment.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes.
The timeline, the exact time it happened, whether the people who came there had weapons already, whether others perhaps decided it was sensible to get weapons as well. All these matters we'll deal with later. But Mr. Mpofu will carry on, and we're allowed to carry on despite those possible inferences.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah. And I'm putting the questions only on that basis that at least on one of the versions, it's competent. Yeah. Okay. Now, what I'm getting at, General, with this is that Brigadier Engelbrecht says, we can go to page 5 of his statement, which is J 167. Paragraph 7. I'm just waiting for it to get to the screen, General, but in the meantime, you can read from the middle of the page. Paragraph 7. Yes, the following page, page 5. Yeah, okay, thank you. The part that I'm interested in is somewhere in the middle. It starts with saying, I said that, this is now the intelligence people, I said that the information that we received from the copy was that the protesters would never surrender their weapons. The reason for this being that they needed the weapons for purposes of protecting themselves from NUM members. In other words, what I'm saying is that from your own intelligence sources, you were told that, yes, they will refuse to hand over the weapons, and the reason is because they wanted to protect themselves from NUM members. And to you, among all the other people, this was not news, because that's exactly what they told you repeatedly on the Monday the 13th, correct?
Yes, Chairperson, it was said to me.
Thank you.
But what I did not believe in.
Yeah, but did you believe it? Okay, you might not have believed it from them. Did you believe it when Brigadier Engelbrecht was saying it to you?
Chairperson, the believing is that the police were there to protect any person. So when...
Sorry, General. When you said I didn't believe it, that was a statement that was ambiguous, because there were two things. Did you disbelieve both or only disbelieve one? Remember, the statement was they wouldn't hand over their weapons, and the reason given was they wanted to protect themselves against NUM. Now, you obviously didn't, I think it's clear from what you just said, you didn't think it was necessary for them to hang on to their weapons to protect themselves against NUM, because if NUM tried anything, the police were there to prevent them. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
The first part of it is, did you believe the information that they wouldn't hand over their weapons, or did you think they would hand over their weapons because they knew or thought or accepted the police would protect them? You see the 2 points?
Yes, Chairperson.
Now, what was your belief or disbelief regarding that part of the information which said that they wouldn't hand over their weapons? Did you accept that as correct? Albeit for the wrong reason, perhaps?
No. Chairperson, on the 16th, and I did say to Mr. Matunjo, after he has given to me, to say I'm impressed, because at that time I thought that when Mr. Matunjo speaks to them, they will hand in their weapons. But what the only part is this one that the Chairperson is speaking about, that they are protecting themselves against the NUM.
The statement that's being put to you relates to the information, the meeting that was held, I think it was on the Wednesday. Yeah, the JOC meeting on the Wednesday. That's what's being talked about in the passage that we're looking at now. And the question really is, when Brigadier Engelbrecht said that at the JOCCOM meeting on the Wednesday morning, that the protesters aren't going to hand over their weapons, would never surrender their weapons. You hadn't spoken to Mr. Matunzwe yet. You didn't know what he was going to say. Did you accept as correct the information which Brigadier Engelbrecht gave you, or gave the meeting, on the Wednesday morning at the JOCCOM meeting? I think that's your question, Mr. Mpofu, is it?
Yes, Chairperson, except that my quick reading of this evidence is that it was in relation to the 15th or even the 16th. Let me just...
the 15th. The
oh, yeah, oh, sorry, then it's my mistake. Thank you, Chairperson. Then you're correct.
Chairperson, as I'm saying, I still say the same thing, that I believed what Mr. Matunja was, that because this was already being said to us.
No, it wasn't so. The meeting that is being talked about in this passage is on the Wednesday morning. And you met Mr. Matunzwe for the first time on the Wednesday afternoon. And he went to the copy, you remember, just before sunset on the Wednesday evening, and came back and your debriefing took place. So on the Wednesday morning, when Brigadier Engelbrecht gave this information to the JOCCOM meeting, the question is, did you believe, not the reason they gave, but did you believe that part of the information, which was to the effect that the strikers would not surrender their weapons?
Yes, Chairperson, I did believe what he told, because that could have been a confirmed information.
Surrender them to you.
Correct. Yes,
despite the fact you spoke to them very nicely and said you wouldn't arrest them, you just wanted the weapons, they still were obdurate and wouldn't hand over.
That's right, Chairperson. And that's why then the route was also through the unions.
Yeah, that's right. All right, this seems a suitable stage to take tea, Mr. Mpofu, unless there's a point you want to make before we take tea.
Yes, just one small point, Chairperson. The thrust really of what is being said is, I accept that you say you didn't believe that they were going to hand over their weapons. also I accept that you might have thought that the reason that they were giving was invalid. But the point I'm making is that you knew that, at least according to me, to Brigadier Engelbrecht, the reason that they would never, actually in the next sentence, he says they were never going to surrender their weapons, was because of the feared attack by Noom. You knew that. And you believed, you might not have believed the strikers, but you believed that the information that Brigadier Engelbrecht has received has some integrity. I thought that was your earlier evidence. Correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, that's a place for.
With your permission, we'll take the theatre.
Thank you. Permission granted, Chairperson.
resumes, Major General. You're still under oath.
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. General, again, another proposition which I'm going to argue that I want you to give you a chance to comment on, and it's something that I've partly covered, but I'm approaching it from a different angle. I'm going to argue that so much were you isolated that you must have cut a very lonely figure in that you had lost the support of both your superiors and your subordinates at the same time. And I'm going to give you the examples now, but as a general statement, I suppose you refute that, correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes. Now, would it be true to say that of the people who were there, the only people that you regarded as your superiors were General Mbombo and General Annandale, correct?
Why would you have regarded General Annandale as your superior? He was the same rank as you were, and he was your junior. Hadn't you been a Major General for about 10 years?
Yes, he's actually my junior, but in terms of him coming from head office, yes, but actually in terms of the rank, he is my junior, but for the fact that he comes from head office.
Yes, no, I accept that. Because he comes from head office, virtually is senior only in that sense, in that limited sense, correct?
Only in terms of the position.
Yes,
but
correct.
I need to state that in writing, and Chairperson, I already said that I was the commander and he was reporting to me.
According to Exhibit L, he was your deputy.
Correct, Chairperson.
No, that's good enough. Thank you, Chair. In any event, as far as, or let me put it this way, if it is correct that, and we don't know yet, that Lieutenant General Mbombo called Major General Annandale up herself and without consulting you, that could be construed as undermining your authority as the top, the big chief, correct?
Not at all, Chairperson. And as I've said, she is my senior, and she takes decisions independently according to the circumstances, as I briefed to her.
Yes, but there was nothing preventing her from, even as a matter of courtesy, informing you that she was bringing another person of equal or higher status than you, correct?
Chairperson, she was not replacing me with General Annandale. So what I'm saying is that there was no reason to inform me because she was actually reinforcing me.
Okay, now in any event, as far as your juniors are concerned, we all know now about the whole saga of the people who allegedly wanted to kill you, so we don't have to go through that. Correct?
Chairperson, I will really request that this one, I should be clarified, the whole saga and these juniors, and I don't want to go in front, but specifically with names.
Yes, well, okay.
You understand there are sensitive aspects as well. These
Very much.
people that you are referring to continue to be his juniors, continue to serve under him, continue to owe him loyalty and respect. And so
Yes.
And so it may be necessary for you to have generalized propositions on record
Yes.
that you can deal with. But I think too much particularity might have unfortunate knock-on effects.
I get you, Chairperson, and that's why I was using words like allegedly and so on, because I didn't want to get into the sensitivities. All I'm saying, General, is that you were aware of, at the very least, that there were these allegations about some people who were your subordinates, in rank only, who may have harbored those kinds of ill intentions. Correct?
Chairperson, I was made aware,
Yes.
but it didn't come up from me, and I didn't see it from those individuals myself.
Yeah.
I understand you didn't know it, weren't aware of it at all. It was Lieutenant Colonel Marafi who informed you of what he'd heard and then took steps to make sure that you were taken out of harm's way, shall we say. Sorry? Sorry, was it for Mark? I beg pardon. No, sorry, I got it wrong. Lieutenant
Yes.
Colonel for Mark. Yes. I'm sorry. Lieutenant Colonel for Mark informed you of these things and then made arrangements to get you out of harm's way. But you had no direct knowledge of it yourself.
Correct, Chairperson.
Yes. Apart from that, were you aware of any other efforts to undermine you coming from the side of your subordinates?
No, Chairperson. As I indicated, that taking into account what type of an organization we are, when Lieutenant Colonel Marafe expressed to say, General, I disagree with you, that is allowed within SABS because we are doing what do we call participative management. So the views of the juniors, it's important that they come out. So I didn't see it as undermining authority.
Yes. And when, I forget the rank now, warrant officer, I think, Tupe, said to you, to your face rather,
I think Mr. Tupe is a captain.
Captain, thank you, Chairperson. When Captain Tupe said to you, to your face, as it were, that you had given the instruction for tear gas on the 13th, which we now know you didn't do, did you view that also as some form of undermining insubordination, that kind of thing?
No, Chairperson. That's why I also wanted to know how I could have done it. Because if I have done it, I could have done it through the radio and everybody could have heard it. So he had to explain to me how I could have given that instruction.
Yes. No, General, I accept that you disputed it and you thought he was out of his mind. But
I don't know that that's a valid comment. And in fact, there's a bit of hearsay. It's not clear, ambiguity.
Well,
it's not clear. No, from the evidence he gave
sorry.
earlier, it's not clear whether the captain was saying it's ambiguous, that he heard the Major General give the order. What he said is consistent with his having heard it said that the Major General gave the order. And in the latter case, there would be far less scope for insubordination than there would in the first case.
Naturally. Yeah. But it's also...
that he's out of his mind, I mean, it wasn't never suggested he's out of his mind.
No.
That was just a bit of...
I was exaggerating, Chairperson. We can't forget that.
A bit of forensic hyperbole.
Yes. No, I was...
anyway, carry on. Minus the hyperbole.
Yes. No, I was just exaggerating to assist the General that he didn't believe it. Yeah. All I'm saying is that insofar as it is... Chairperson is right. It might be consistent with him having heard from somebody else. But it's also consistent with him having been accusing you from his own knowledge. Now, insofar as he would have been accusing you wrongly from his own knowledge, being a captain and you being a general, that would be a little bit unusual, to say the least, correct? Particularly if it was not true.
No, Chairperson, because normally if I felt that it was false accusations against a senior officer, I could have said so.
Well, it was actually, as it happens, from your point of view, a false accusation against a senior officer, wasn't it?
I said, Chairperson, according to me, seeing Captain Tupe raising that where I am present, it is consistent with participative management. That it shows also that I'm not threatening people suppressing their views. But what I wanted to know from him is that how I could have done it.
Okay. I understand he didn't have an answer. Am I right?
Chairperson?
From what I could understand from your evidence, he didn't have an answer.
Correct, Chairperson.
So you effectively put him to flight insofar as he was making this allegation against you.
Yes,
or repeating an allegation he'd heard.
Yes, because he couldn't substantiate how I could have done it. But to me, it was important that it came out at that stage, so that my side, I could also put my side to him, other than the one that he could have come to the commission, and I didn't know, and I didn't have a chance of responding.
Okay. Now, as far as Colonel Scott is concerned, am I correct in my understanding that your view is that you don't know where this notion comes from, that this was a Scott plan, because he was not your planner, correct?
Chairperson, not that he was not my planner. I'm sorry, may I just explain? To my understanding, Scott's plan is that he planned this plan alone, and he imposed the plan to all of us, and that is what I was disputing. But I didn't dispute the fact that he was a compiler of the plan, and one of the compilers, but the ultimate one, and I also did state the reason why also I allowed that Colonel Duncan Scott to be part of that planning team, not to be one of the compilers.
Yes, no, that's what I'm saying. You think he's a compiler, he thinks he's the chief architect. So as far as you're concerned, Scott did not plan for you, correct?
Chairperson, I'm just asking, plan in what sense, maybe?
General, you know what plan means?
The clarity. Okay. Chairperson, what I'm saying is that he did compile, he did present, and there was deliberations of other people.
Was he your planner or not?
No, Chairperson, he was the compiler, and the people did participate in the plan.
All right. Okay. In any event, we'll leave that for argument. The other person who undermined you was Colonel Vermaak, correct?
I don't understand. Maybe in relation to what Chairperson?
Well, did he undermine you in relation to anything first? Before I will explain to me. But did you feel that he undermined you at all?
No, Chairperson.
When he phoned the provincial commissioner and spoke about you without your knowledge, did you find that a good thing or a bad thing?
Chairperson, may I just explain this first in terms of Colonel Vermaak's work? He's a commander of the Air Wing, and the Air Wing falls under head office. He might well, at that level, to say, I can talk to the provincial commissioner because I'm delivering services to the province. And on the other hand, he might also be talking to Brigadier Khalid because he's also falling in terms of responsibility and services to crowd management. But as a junior person, one might say, yes, he should have consulted me. But there is no total obligation. For the purpose of courtesy, for the purpose of saying, General, these are my views. In that sense, yes, but there was no legal obligation.
Yeah, well, I know there was no legal obligation, but insofar as one might say that, would one be correct to say that you felt offended because you felt that he was undermining you?
Chairperson, maybe we might use the word courtesy.
General, please, let's not make this more painful than it is.
So, let me explain what he means. I take it you're referring to Exhibit 88868, a letter written to your provincial commissioner and to your subordinate, Brigadier Khalid, the provincial head operational response services, on the 12th of December 2012, in that letter, the statement is made in paragraph 11.4. Senior officers do plannings without any experience in serious incidents, and this caused that the SAPS must afterwards explain their actions. Marikana Lonman is a very good example. This is paragraph 11.4, where senior management was warned before specific actions were taken, but they did not give any attention to the advice. This type of ignorance put the national and provincial commissioners in a very difficult situation. And when you were asked about that last week, you indicated that that was I understood you to indicate, it was to some extent a criticism of various people, including you, and it wasn't sent to you, it was sent to your superior and your subordinate, and you described that as Colonel Vermaak's modus operandi. Now, you've now said that characterized your criticism of him, that he didn't extend to you the courtesy which you expected. That's what you're saying, is it?
Correct,
Now,
Chairperson.
Mr. Mpofu is going a bit further than that. And he's suggesting to you, and he wants your comment on the suggestion, that in fact what he did amounted to an undermining of you and your authority. Am I
That's correct,
summarizing
Chairperson.
your point correctly?
That very much, Chairperson.
Now, in other words, it wasn't just a lack of courtesy that he showed in this modus operandi, as you put it, but he actually had the effect, or potentially had the effect, of undermining your authority. Now, what's your response to that criticism that Mr. Mpofu says he's going to argue later?
Chairperson, as I have explained before, that he is there falling directly under National Head Office. And secondly, he is in that position that he can communicate with the Provincial Commissioner and Brigadier Khalid. In my understanding, when we talk about undermining authority, it is my belief that there should have been a policy that forces him to communicate through me. Hence, I'm referring to a courtesy.
Yes. General, I understand all that. I'm more interested in, I've suggested when I asked the question earlier that you, subjectively, were offended by this. And that's really what I want you to comment on. What I'm saying is that whether there's a policy against it and so on, whatever, but this is something that offended you because you saw it as undermining your authority, particularly because it was not the first time that it was happening.
Chairperson, the courtesy that I'm referring to, it is the one that he should have communicated with me. But I didn't interpret it as undermining the authority.
Were you offended?
Correct, Chairperson.
You feel undermined.
I feel that he should have spoken to me, but I know that he has no obligation.
Yes. All I'm saying, General, is that now, today, you are busy justifying his actions. I'm saying that at the time you were offended and you felt undermined. What do you say to that?
Denies he feels undermined.
He actually accepted, or rather, yes, he accepted that he was offended, but denied that he was undermined. Thank you, Chairperson.
That's the point. You say you didn't feel undermined, but you did feel offended. That's what
Correct, Chairperson.
all right. Is that all you need for your argument later, Mr. Mpofu? Or a further point, you want to put something else? And the lack of courtesy point he also made.
No,
But,
yeah,
is
that's
there anything
enough,
else you
Chairperson.
need on this matter?
No, that's enough, Chairperson. Just to say that also one of the reasons why you were offended was because this was not the only time it had happened. It was a pattern, correct? On the part of Vermaak.
There were letters that were raised with me that they were not addressed to me.
No, please answer the question. One of the reasons that made you to be more offended was the fact that this was not the first time it was happening. It was part of a pattern of behavior on his part, correct?
Chairperson, I don't know whether 3 times is a pattern, but it is at least 3 times. I'm referring to specific to those documents.
Yes. Okay, let's then leave it to one of the reasons you were offended was because it was not the first time.
Correct, Chairperson, as far as documents are concerned.
Thank you. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because Mr. Chaskalson dealt with it this morning. But would I be correct to say that actually the principal reason why the encirclement plan was abandoned, I accept that it was also a reason that there was not enough barbed wire, but that the principal reason was the fact that the manpower or the personnel that had been called had not yet arrived, and you did not have sufficient people.
No,
Would that be a fair?
No, Chairperson.
That was not the reason.
Yes.
The only reason was the shortage in barbed wire.
The reason that I know at that time was the shortage of barbed wire. But I'm referring on the 16th.
Well, okay. At any other time, as I understand it, and I accept your question because the abandonment is alleged at various points. But at any point, do you know that a reason for the abandonment of the encirclement plan at any point was the fact that the personnel was not sufficient? Might not have been the only reason, but that it was a main reason or one of the reasons. To your knowledge, yes, no?
No, Chairperson.
Okay. Then, can you go to paragraph 23 of your Triple G12? Right. Are you there, General?
Yes, it's paragraph 3.
23, sorry.
Oh, sorry, thanks.
You say, there you say something which I will argue contradicts your previous answer. You say that at the JOCOM briefing in the morning of Tuesday the 14th, an operational strategy was considered in terms of which the protesters would be prevented from gathering at the Kopi armed. All those approaching the Kopi were to be searched and disarmed, and those already on the Kopi encircled and disarmed. This strategy was, however, considered not to be feasible, as there were insufficient resources to implement it. For that reason, it was not implemented. The JOCOM instead adopted a strategy to negotiate a peaceful solution. Is that, or rather, what were you referring to there? Or would you like to change your answer?
Chairperson, the resources that I referred to, it was because it was the barbed wire.
Oh, I see. So there was no issue about members, human beings rather, as opposed to barbed wire being or the shortage of human beings being the reason, correct?
I just wanted to find out when,
At
on the
any
14th.
day, doesn't matter when.
No, Chairperson.
Okay, just a minute. Not sure. Chairperson, if you can just give me 1 second.
Looking for?
I'm looking for something, Chairperson, if you give me a second.
Are you not perhaps looking for slide 63 in Exhibit L?
63, yes. I was looking just a bit later, yes. Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. If you go to L63, what is suggested is that after the summary that I gave you, and this coincides with your statement, at least insofar as it also refers to the 14th, which is in paragraph 23 of your statement. It says the encirclement and so on. This was deemed not feasible due to the forces called up from distant locations not having arrived yet, and those who were there had not yet been orientated to the mission area or briefed sufficiently. So your evidence is that this is not true, correct?
Chairperson, on the 14th, there was no time where we were, there was no, let me say, there was no a stage where we decided whether to disarm or not. That's why I was saying, at that time we were speaking to say, how do we go about it, particularly with the barbed wire? Because at that time there was no decision whether we disperse and take the processes either today or tomorrow. But when that decision, there was a time where there was a decision to do it on Wednesday, and the resources were there. Hence, my answer was mainly on the barbed wire.
No. Well, firstly, I don't understand what you've just said. But the question I had asked you, which you had committed yourself to, was that the reason was of abandoning the encirclement at this stage, at least, of L20, rather paragraph 23, which, as I say, happens to be the same period that L63 is dealing with, was the issue of the barbed wire, which you said to Mr. Chaskalson this morning. You remember Mr. Chaskalson went to some length with you about that issue.
I remember, Chairperson.
Yes. Now, I was now suggesting, and you disagreed with me, that there was another reason, not discounting the one that you and Mr. Chaskalson discussed. And you said to me there was no such reason. That's why I said to you, so there was no reason that involved resources. You then said the word resources was confined to barbed wire, not human beings. I'm now showing you that according to this paragraph, it was referring to human beings and not barbed wire. In other words, it's either this was the only reason or there were both reasons. But what you are saying that the only reason was barbed wire is not true. Or what is said in this slide is not true. Which is it?
General,
Chairperson,
before you answer, maybe I should help you. This refers to people who were going to the copy and the encirclement of the few that were there. Not so. This particular slide. Not to the 3,000 which was already there. Isn't that the difference? Look at the bullet point at 6 o'clock, bullet point 1, bullet point 2, and then the third one.
Yes, I could see this one, Commissioner, that it was relating to those people that were coming from the different places going to the copy.
Yes. Do you think
But you were not dealing with that when you dealt with this aspect with Advocate Chaskalson?
Yes, I did mention that there were various stages, Chairperson, that this issue was dealt with. It was dealt with the 50 people. It was also dealt with the filtering line.
Yes. You see, General, that cannot be true. That's why I said to you when you asked me at what stage, I said at any stage, because I didn't want to get into this trap of saying, no, this was, of splitting hairs. I said at any stage, at any day, or whatever, was there a reason that was advanced, which is the shortage of people, and you said no. Now, I'm saying to you that at this stage, and in any event, does it matter in terms of the amount of barbed wire you need if you are encircling a copy, whether there are 50 people or 3,000 people?
When you use the barbed wire, it's very much important because it creates a barrier between you and those that are carrying dangerous weapons. But why I'm emphasizing on this, by the time when we wanted to disperse, and there was a time where we wanted to disperse on Wednesday, and there were people. But the barbed wire, why is emphasized, is that we could not get it. There was no time where we could get that amount of barbed wire. And I was told in the commission that that was actually obtained, and I didn't know. But there were more people on Wednesday that they were available. And that's why I'm saying that the issue of the resources pertaining to people, to me, it was not a problem. But the problem was the barbed wire.
No, I understand that. And therefore, that's what I'm saying. So it's either you are correct or L63 is not correct. The two cannot stand together. If you are saying for you there was no human resources, and I'm qualifying using that adjective, so in other words, you are saying the problem was material resources, and I'm putting to you that the problem according to L63 was human resources. Now, if you are saying that is not the case, then it's either you are incorrect or whoever wrote this is incorrect, correct?
Chairperson, as I said, this was made from different inputs from different people.
No, fair enough.
Yes, but
if it exists, okay, let's make it easier so that you don't accuse anybody of lying. If this is correct, that a reason for abandoning this strategy on the 14th about the 50 people or whatever, that is something that never came to your attention. Can we put it neutrally like that?
Regarding human resources?
Yes, sir.
Correct, Chairperson. It was mainly with the barbed wire.
Okay, thanks. Now, when it came to arresting the people that I represent, I'm going to argue at the end. I'm now going to give you again a chance as the overall commander. I'm going to argue at the end of the case that those arrests were senseless and unnecessary. Understand? Not that you agree, but do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, Chairperson.
Yes. Now, according to the plan, it's clear that you, when you were going through all this, arranging for sales and canters and what have you, this was in order that you should arrest those people who refused to disarm, correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
Or at best. At worst, it would be to arrest those people who were in possession of dangerous weapons, correct?
Yes, Chairperson.
Now, do you know now, or have you ever known, that none of the people who were arrested could be linked to any particular arm? In other words, they were just taken just because they happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and piled into those canters and arrested.
I don't know, Chairperson, and
well,
the main fact it is that I was also not there, and I was not the arresting officer. I think those that were arresting might be giving more light. But what I do know, that some of the firearms that were found there, they were not belonging to the people that were there in terms of their further investigations.
Yes.
But whether they were arrested in possession, that one I cannot state it.
Yeah, no, General, I accept that you are not the. I'm the one who accused you of having avoided the scene like the plague. So I can't now turn around and say you were there. All I'm saying to you is that as the overall commander, knowing that the plan, or the intent at least, was that these canters that you were busy arranging for and the cells from the 5 police stations, what have you, were intended to be used for the purposes of putting those people who, A, either refuse to hand over dangerous weapons or are found in any event in possession thereof. Now, I'm telling you that none of those 2 preconditions would qualify in respect of the 259 people or more. Okay, some were arrested later in hospitals. At least the more than 250 people who were indeed arrested on the 16th. Do you have anything to say about that? Or rather, let me put it this way. Would you agree that that's a deviation at the very least from the plan?
No, Chairperson, I cannot talk about deviation when I was not there.
No. General, please, I'm not going to belabor this.
The point on this basis, he accepts you weren't there. He accepts you haven't got personal knowledge of the facts that he's putting to you. But what I understand it to be saying is, if the facts he's put you are correct, would you, is that right, Mr. Mbu?
That's correct.
Would you accept that there was then a deviation from the original police plan only to arrest people who were unwilling to hand over their arms and were in possession of dangerous weapons? That's what he's putting to you. So if the facts he's put you are right, you're not asked to accept that they're right because you don't know. That's a separate matter, which may well only form the subject of investigation in the criminal trials, insofar as there are criminal trials. But on the assumption, which he doesn't ask you to make conclusively, but on the provisional assumption that those facts are right, would you say that the original plan was deviated from? That's your question.
That's correct, Chairperson.
My understanding is that I won't be able to really speculate.
No, General, I promise you this is my last attempt at asking this. All I'm saying is that you, as General Mpembe, you know the plan. You know that the plan is to arrest either people who refuse to disarm or those who are found in possession of dangerous weapons. Okay? Now, if I say to you, myself, you know what, I was arrested on the 16th. Therefore, knowing the plan, you must then assume that I either fall into one of those 2 categories. It is either I refused to disarm or I was found in possession of a dangerous weapon. Isn't that a logical conclusion, deduction from what you knew would be the plan? Because that was those were the categories of people who were candidates for arrest.
Yes, Chairperson is correct.
Now, if, as the Chairperson is correct, assume now then that I'm not making it up because I could be lying. Maybe I was holding a big panga. But if you assume that I'm right, that I neither refused to disarm, nor was I in possession of a dangerous weapon, would you say then my arrest confirms a deviation to that extent only from the plan?
Chairperson, on assumption that is correct, it will be a deviation.
Not sure it's quite as easy as that. But if there's a further thing you've got to put into the mix. Even if what Mr. Mpofu puts to you is right, that the people didn't have dangerous weapons, didn't refuse to be disarmed, as a fact, if there was a reasonable suspicion on the part of the arresting officer, or arresting member, that the person fell into one of those categories, that would explain the arrest. Because presumably the plan was to arrest people who were suspected on reasonable grounds of doing the things that were described. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson. Hence, I also mentioned about the firearms that were found that to be there, which were not belonging legally to those that were there.
Well, okay. I don't want to go there, but now let's go there because we've been brought there. Would you accept that that if for there to be a reasonable suspicion of arresting these 259 people, one of the things would be that at a minimum 259 dangerous weapons had been recovered there, and we know that it was not even half of that. Would your answer still be the same?
There were more weapons recovered, Chairperson. My answer will remain the same.
Well, the evidence will show that at scene 2, which is where the people were arrested, there were, I don't have the number now, but at worst or at best for the police, there was one Shambok and one X or whatever. It's, if you go to slide L263, you see that at, well, I've done a tally there, if I'm not incorrect, at, you understand, people would not be arrested for Nobkiris, correct? As dangerous weapon.
Knobkiri is a dangerous weapon.
Mr. Mpofu, I'm sorry to have to do this to you, but I'm told the council is going to have a meeting here shortly.
Oh.
And they ask us to leave. So we'll have to take up the point again in the morning.
Okay.
But of course, if one adds up the numbers in slide 263 in Exhibit L, 163 plus 57 plus 29 plus 4 plus 33 plus 4, you might get a number in excess of 275. But anyway,
I've got the number. It's 196, Chairperson, but we'll deal with it.
How can that be? It's a matter of arithmetic. Knobkerry 163, Spears 57. That's already 220.
No.
Iron rods 29. That's 249. Knives 4, 253. Pangas 33. That's my arithmetic is over 280. But you and I can match our arithmetical skills tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Okay, Chairperson. Chairperson, can I just please just ask one question?
We've been asked to go now because
we have to go right now.
Received a message from the council. It's not I who are endeavouring to stop you. It's our landlords who. Well, landlord's the wrong word.
Thank you,
It's
Chairperson.
the kind local authority that's given us these premises
Yes,
free of charge.
They have better rights more than even the Chairperson.
Indeed, they have. We're now adjourned till tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.